Hey y'all, it's Brandy and welcome back to the Antisocials Library. We're doing something a little bit different today and we're going to try something a little new. So I totally missed my wrap up for June, didn't even do one. And then before that, I had done what I thought was a fun idea, which was like a newspaper type edition of a wrap up, where I basically made a newspaper edition and read through the paper with you. And while that was fun and I liked it and I thought it was unique, it definitely took a little bit more time than I was expecting to make each month. So I have decided that that's more of an Instagram thing. You know, that's more of a stagnant post thing. Every once in a while, maybe every quarter, maybe every couple months, but definitely not every month because your girl is too busy for that. So in order to completely consolidate everything, actually, in all the videos that I want to make, I'm basically starting a new way to do a wrap up for me at least, which is what I'm calling the shelf ledger. So each month we're going to check in and we're going to check the ledger of my shelves. And if you're wondering where I got this idea, you should know that I work in finance, government finance specifically. So I've actually was recently studying for a test that I had to take for my job, and I was reviewing debits and credits and just like, doing boring accounting stuff, and it hit me. Ins and outs. That's what I do every month. That's basically what a book haul, a book unhaul, a TBR, and a wrap up is. So I'm always going to keep my TBR separate because I love my monthly bite game. I love playing the game, even though I literally never win, but I really enjoy it. But I figured I can combine the other three and basically do like a TBR takedown, TBR tracking, read down my physical TBR, all of those different iterations of that same concept, but we're going to call it a shelf ledger because I work in finance and I really am that lame. Basically what we're going to do is this video is going to be in 3 parts, so it's a little bit longer than a normal wrap up would be because we are going to do the wrap up of the books that I read in the month of July, and we're going to do the books that I hauled in the month of July, and the books that I unhauled in the month of July. I'm gonna go over what my library stats are. What is this? We're gonna go over what my library stats are at the beginning, what they were at the beginning of July, and then what they are now. And basically, all of this stuff that I just talked about is everything that happened in between. Are you following? Are you following? So basically, I started the month of July with this many books. And then I hauled this many books. But then I read this many books. And then I unhauled this many books. Which leaves us with, hopefully, less books at the end of the month on my physical TBR than I did at the beginning of the month. And to go with the theme, the shelf ledger is going to be counting my literary debt. That is just what I'm calling my physical TBR, my literary debt. My goal each month with the monthly bite in my TBR and just reading in general and my book buying, let's be real, it's never going to be a ban, but my book buying, my goal each month is to pay down my literary debt by reading more books or getting rid of more books than I am bringing in. Let's go ahead and just get into it, and let's start off with the stats. I have this broken out into 3 categories because I am a crazy person and I do actually collect books, not just titles, if that makes sense. So like, for example, I own multiple editions of several Stephen King novels, and I own very many editions of Dracula, etc., etc. So I keep track of my library in 2 different ways. I keep track of it in a collection standpoint, which is how many physical books that I own in my library, and then I keep track of it in a title section, which is how many individual titles of books that I own. And then of course I keep track of my physical TBR, which is every book that I physically, tangibly own at least 1 copy of that I have not read. In terms of the book collection, I went into the month of July with 879 books in my library that I physically own. In terms of library titles, which is just how many unique titles I own, I went into the month of July with 766 titles, which just shows you right there how many editions of books that I own, because that's quite a discrepancy. And then my physical TBR going into the month of July was 454 books. And I don't know if one needs to be a mathematician to know that that's not even 50%. So I haven't even read half of the different titles that I own. In fact, it's about a 40-60 split, with me only having read like 300 and some titles, 300 and then some of the titles that I own. And that's a wake-up call. Do you know what I mean? So that is crazy. Hopefully when we go through everything that I hauled, read, and unhauled, my physical TBR went down. But there's really only one way to find out, so let's just get into it. I am gonna go ahead and talk about the books that I read in the month of July. July was a very horror-centric month. I read mostly horror, actually. I had a great time with it. I think a lot of it had to do with Summerween, and then I did a horror bingo reading vlog, and I just was really in a horror mood. So I did read a lot of that. I actually only have 4 books here that I read that weren't included in any type of like reading vlog. I don't think I talked about these in any type of reading vlog. So I'll go into those just with a little bit more detail, but the rest of them I'll just kind of briefly go over, because I did kind of go into like an extensive what I thought about a book when I was reading it. Okay, so I did read 12 books in the month of July, so that's great. I am not upset with that number at all. I'm actually pretty happy with it, especially since I was very busy in the month of July. So very, very happy with 12 books, but not included in that 12, I actually do have a DNF that I want to talk about. And it's crazy that I DNF'd this book because it's probably the shortest book on my shelves, but I did start and I just couldn't get into Discontent by Beatrice Serrano. To be honest, this was probably just a timing thing, but I genuinely just did not care to follow this character in any sense of the word. I genuinely got like 20 pages into this and was like, no. And 20 pages is like almost halfway through this book. Look how tiny it is. And I'm sorry, I just didn't care. Honestly, I don't even exactly like know what the story is. I know you're following a woman and she lives in Madrid and she is drowning in a dark hole of existential dread induced by the banality of corporate life. And I remember when I was thinking about picking up this book from Book of the Month that I was like, that sounds like something that would really, really, really work for me. And honestly, I think it was just the writing style. It is a translated work. I don't know if that has any type of reasoning for why that had something to do with it, but I couldn't get through it. I don't know if maybe one day I'll pick this up by audio or something, but I did not enjoy this and I did DNF it. And now I'll just go ahead and get into the books that I read that won't be showing up in a specific vlog. So the first one that I want to talk about is Hex by Thomas Olduvelt. This book was quite the surprise. So I started this a while ago, and I'm pretty sure this started with a concept for an idea for a vlog or something of that nature, and I never actually did read it for a vlog. You are in this town that has grown accustomed to this witch ghost lady, this lady, okay, and she just wanders around town and everyone knows about her and everyone knows how to deal with her. Basically don't mess with her. She has her eyes and her mouth sewn shut, and it's been told that if her eyes and her mouth open, then like horrible things will happen. And essentially you're following these kids, they're teenagers, they have access to the internet, they're tired of living a life of solitude and a life of secrecy because no one can actually come and stay at this place because she is, you know, an evil creature, and they can't know about her because people were gonna want to know what she is like. And they talk about how different experiences have caused people to die because they have tried to like open her eyes and her mouth and things of that nature. Anyway, basically these kids get tired of that and want her to be known so that they don't have to live this life of solitude trapped in this town anymore. And honestly, this was so freaking good. This was so good. I gave this a 4.25. It's not a perfect 5-star book. I think it maybe just dragged on just a little, just a tad. But the overall conversation about almost like inheriting this curse, being trapped in this town, and how you're following the parent, you're following the father, and how it's affecting his son, and the just the trauma that goes along with it, and how you're passing that down generation by generation by choosing to have kids. And it's just this whole symbolism around this woman, and there's a girl in the town that almost sympathizes with this ghost woman and just wants to like almost make sacrifices to her to appease her, and just how all these different people are dealing with the lives that they are dealt. And I just think it's a lot deeper than just a haunted town, and it was done really, really well. The writing is phenomenal writing. I loved it very, very, very much, and I gave it a 4.25 star. The next one was not so much a success because I was really highly anticipating this read because of how much I loved the first one by this author, but I did finally get around to American Rapture by CJ Lead, and I am disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I know that this one is not an all-time favorite by a lot of the people that also enjoyed Mayfly, but I did love Mayfly, and so I went into this expecting a lot from this author, to be honest, and this just didn't really deliver. So this is basically a pandemic, a zombie apocalypse, where the sickness, the illness is driven by sexual madness. Our main character is raised in a sense of religious purity and is taught and is very, very, very sheltered, and is taught that sin and all of these thoughts of sexual experiences and just like curiosities are negative and, you know, will send you to hell. And you're following her as she's having to navigate this new world that is literally surrounded by the things that were told to her were so taboo, and how she's literally trying to survive in it. And the concept sounds really appealing to me, but the execution just kind of fell flat. I don't think that it went in the way that I think it should have. I think, again, it was too long. This would have been like a really interesting like novella or like a short story, do you know what I mean? But I think a full-length novel with this, it just felt very redundant. It felt very much like, okay, like we get it, you're in this situation, you have these people in your lives, bad things happen, and then they almost happen, and then they didn't happen. And don't get me wrong, bad things happen in this book, people die. Same thing with Hex, like nobody is safe. But I don't know, I can't really explain it, but I just found myself very bored when I was reading this. I was like, other than the like insanely cool concept of everyone getting this illness and like needing to insatiably have sex with each other and then kill each other, you know, just I ended up giving it a 2.75. I'm probably gonna hold on to it for a little while though, just because it is CJ Lead. I tend to do that sometimes. I tend to not super love a book, but will hold on to it until one day I just look at it on my shelves and I'm just like, you gotta go. The next book that I want to talk about, I actually don't have a physical copy of, but I did listen to it on audio, and that was Waypoints by Sam Heughan. I loved this book. It was narrated by the author, it was narrated by Sam, and it was so insightful and inspiring, really, and funny. Like genuinely funny. And this is a memoir, like nonfiction, about Sam as he is going across this adventure. There is this like well-known, very long walking, hiking trail that takes you across the waypoints of Scotland, and he at the beginning of the novel was talking about how he has grown up in this country and is so proud of it and loves it so much, but has never done this thing. And so he's basically telling us his life story as he is trekking across this trail and on this adventure by himself. He does it completely alone, and he runs into people and meets people and tells us about them, as well as kind of going back in time and telling us how he came to be in the place that he is today. I think he is very good at balancing the like knowledgeable parts of the nature of the Highlands, and it felt very immersive, like we were there, but then he would like jab in his personal history of his life and his of acting and of his family very well. And I'm just very impressed, and I absolutely would pick up another book by this man. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that he portrays probably the biggest fictional crush of my life. It has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. The last book that I have that was not really talked about extensively into a vlog is actually We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. This is the same author as Insomnia. It's right here behind me. She wrote Insomnia, and I remember I thoroughly enjoyed Insomnia, so I was excited to get into this. And once again, I thought this book was just okay. The writing is good. The execution of the haunted house-esque was very good, I think, but in terms of the like dread feeling that I have to read a novel that is solely based on an eerie place, that just didn't happen. It felt very, very modern. The community environment and the neighborhood, and it wasn't creepy enough. It's a haunted house story, and it wasn't creepy enough. It was creepy and it had its moments, but the overall like dread that I have to feel to fully fall in love with a haunted house story just didn't do it, and I don't really have that much to say about it. I gave it a 3 stars. Now we're going to get into the books that I read for Summerween. I should also note that every book that I read this month also did go to the Sunrise on the Readathon. I submitted every single book for pages for that readathon as well. First book that I read for Summerween was Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. I read this on my Kindle. I read it in the dark for the dark prompt, and that definitely helped with the eeriness of this book. I had read The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates, and it's again another haunted house book, and I did not like it. I don't understand why I don't, because so many people liked that book and I didn't. So I gave her another shot because she has so many haunted space setting books, and I really wanted to, I like Darcy Coates' writing. It's very attainable. So I did start Gallows Hill, and I liked it much more than Haunting of Ashburn House. I am pleasantly surprised. In the grand scheme of things, the story seemed, again, not what I was expecting. I wanted a legitimate, paranormal, haunted house story where there are ghosts or poltergeists or demons or something unexplainable or something, and that's just really not what this was. This was very much just like a bait and switch story where you're kind of ending up I don't want to spoil it because maybe it's like a big reveal for the actual like plot of the story, but if you've read it, then I think you probably understand what I mean, but I feel like it's not the type of story that I thought I was going to get. And the way that the plot went was very much putting our main character in the situation that is very figure-outable, and she did figure it out, and it felt very much like the end of The Devil Made Me Do It, the Conjuring movie, do you know what I'm talking about? Where they're like, I hated the end of that movie. So I actually ended up giving this a 2.75. On to another book that was just okay for me. I read Slasher Summer by E.L. Chan. Again, I don't want to go too far into it because I did kind of go into this a little extensively in the vlog, but I ended up giving this a 3.25, and I think it's a generous 3.25. If I'm being honest, because this whole thing was absolutely predictable and not like in a fun, campy, formulaic way. I think the more I sat on it, the more I thought that E.L. Chang was trying to do something different and then just didn't. So it is a slasher novel. It's if The Breakfast Club meets Scream. I do think that is an accurate representation of what this book is. Oh, I could have done so much more. It felt silly rather than campy. You know what I mean? And it just felt like we were here for a good time and I was only having an okay time. So 3.25. I have to speed this up because I have been yapping for almost 25 minutes now, and we're not even done with the wrap up. So we're gonna go faster. The next book I read was Psycho by Robert Bloch. Couldn't remember his name. This was a reread for me. I'm glad I reread it. I gave it a 3.75 the second time around. I did read this in one sitting. It's a very short book. It is a classic for a reason. It is the traditional like type of thing. It's Norman Bates. Our main character, Mary? I can't remember her name. But she makes a decision and she runs from that decision and she stays the night in a motel and then gets killed by Norman Bates. And Norman Bates made the wrong decision killing this girl because people are looking for her. And it just kind of unravels from there. And I thought it was good and I love this edition. So I absolutely will be keeping it. Even though it was just okay for me, it's worth keeping. Staying with the books that left me just a little bit disappointed, but I actually did really enjoy my reading experience with this one. We have Itch by Gemma Moore. Kind of the same thing as Gallows Hill, is I was just expecting something different than what I got. This was more like, it felt more like Scooby and Shaggy solving a mystery rather than like a horrifying body horror, this paranormal thing happening to this woman and she can't explain it, which is what I thought I was getting. And then at the end, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but at the end, like they do be solving the mystery. Like, I don't know. I gave this a 3.5. It was good. The writing was really good. I will absolutely read something more from Gemma Moore. And when we did get those pieces of the body horror, they were so good. Like, the bug horror in this book was so good. I just wanted more of it. I wanted that to be more of what we were getting. And the last book I read for Summerween was my favorite book of the reads for Summerween, and that is Molka by Monica Kim. This book was disgusting. It pissed me off. It made me nauseous at some points, and I think that was ultimately the point. Do I think it could have given its message with a little bit more veracity? Probably, but in the end, I think overall, Monica Kim did what she set out to do and did it in a way that felt almost like very empowering as a woman, in the sense of how angry it made me. Like, the injustice of it really did make me so angry. But in this story, you are in Seoul and you are following two different perspectives, a woman who works at a tech company and a man who works at a tech company. And the woman is, you're kind of following her life and how she kind of gets tied up in this Molka scandal, which is basically, in her case, it's basically a sex tape that got released that she was consensually recorded on. And then you are following the mailman character, who is a loser, creep, gross boy who installed cameras in the girls' bathroom at his job and watches people go to the bathroom. And that gets his jellies going, you know? He's disgusting. And you're just kind of following both of these characters as they are intertwined and also like not until they are. It was really interesting setup. Again, it was infuriating. It's very injustice driven. And I just think the reality of it made it even more horrifying. I was impressed. Just really quickly, let's go over what I read. I read Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read Recursion by Blake Crouch, and I read The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And the only thing I'm going to tell you about these three books is that I did read them in the month of July. One of them is probably an all-time favorite book of mine forever and is probably going to be on my list at the end of the year. And another one is one of the most disappointing things that I've ever experienced. So, that's what I'm going to leave you with there. So those are the 12 books that I read in July in the one DNF. We have to jump into the book haul portion. And to be honest, July was crazy. July was crazy. Not only do I personally, on a personal level, have a problem with buying books, but it was also my birthday. So I got gifted some books. So let's just first and foremost go into those gifted books, shall we? Let's talk about the gifts. Totally insane. Absolutely insane that this happened. All of these books were gifted to me because it was my birthday. Are you joking? Actually, this first one was gifted to me because Amanda wants me to read it, but it's Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This is very, very, very highly anticipated. It is on my August TBR. Amanda read it, told me I would love it, and then sent it to my house. So, thank you so much, Amanda. It should also be noted that it won't be included in this wrap up because I haven't actually done the shopping yet, but Amanda also got me a Barnes & Noble gift card. So you can expect some books in August. This next one is really, a really, really cool, just in general. I did get an edition of Dracula. First of all, it's stunning, right? It's beautiful. But this is no just ordinary edition of Dracula. This is Dracula, written in Romanian. It's written in the original Romanian text from which the novel is set. And that's pretty freaking cool. So one of my friends went to Romania and happened to see this copy and pick it up for me and then gave it to me. And I just think that's really sweet and that's really cool. So now this is the second copy of Dracula that I own that was picked up in a different country and is written in a different language because a different friend of mine went to Spain a couple of years ago and got me an edition, a beautiful edition of Dracula that was written in Spanish. And now I have this one that is written in Romanian, and I think that's just really cool. So this is actually my 38th copy of Dracula. So that's crazy. And my 39th copy of Dracula is this bad boy. My best friend in the entire world, Danny, got me this book. I just think she's stunning. I just think she's stunning. One of my favorite parts about getting different editions of Dracula is that they usually put a different quote on the back, like depending on what the edition is giving, you know? And this one says, "I am all in a sea of wonders. I doubt, I fear, I think strange things, which I dare not confess to my own soul." If you're gonna tell me that Dracula isn't literally a piece of art, you know? Anyway, so that is my 39th copy of Dracula. So thank you, Danny. And then also a big thank you to Danny because she also got me this stunning edition of On Writing by Stephen King. Okay? Because I have a heavily annotated paperback copy of On Writing by Stephen King because I want to be a writer. Okay? And I love Stephen King. Okay, and he wrote a book about writing. It's a 5-star moment, and this edition is just absolutely stunning, and she got it for me, and it's the UK special edition of it, and I love it, love it, love it so much, so I put it on my shelves. This next one actually got sent to my house with no note. Amazon really dropped the ball because I don't know who sent this to me, but someone sent me There Is No Anti-Memetics Division by Quantum, and I am so excited to get to this. I can't wait to step into this like kind of sci-fi horror, like mind meldy moment after watching Sid from By Sid and her husband Caleb. They have a podcast called Didn't Do the Reading. After watching them discuss this, I cannot wait to get into it. And also, yes, I cannot go into what each of these books are about because we literally will be here forever. And I love spending time with you, but I also, you know, really prioritize sleep. A different but equally wonderful Amanda sent me Kingsbane, which is the sequel to Furyborn, which is a book that I read and deeply, deeply, deeply fell in love with several years ago and then just never continued the series. This has been on my wish list for years, and she picked it up for me and she said she loved it, and she also has a booktube channel, so I will link her down below. She is she's really the sweetest person, genuinely. So I need to get to this because I genuinely loved Furyborn so much, and if this doesn't give me a reason, and I just love these editions. I love them so much. And then the last of the gifts, I actually have two. One is on Sundays. She picks Flowers and Krampus by Brahm. These both were sent to me by the Morbid Mama over on Instagram. She is the sweetest person that like literally has ever existed, but she sent me this most beautiful note and these two books, and I just can't wait to just paste this in here. Paste. I'm gonna tape it. I'm gonna tape this in here, and I can't wait to get to it, which is also on my August TBR. So, and then Christmas is gonna be Christmas this year because we love a Brahm story and we love Brahm's art. So it's got to be good just for that, right? I mean, come on. Anyway, thank you so much to everyone that sent me a book. You never, ever, 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 ever have to, but it is so ridiculously appreciated, and I love all of you so much. And because I also love Illumicrate, I got my Evernight book box in, so we love that transition. But I did get the Sea Hides Its Dead by Megan Bontrager. This is the Illumicrate Evernight edition for this quarter. It's absolutely stunning. Oh, this book is insane. It's gorgeous. Truly. So now the rest of the book that I am hauling just came from me. Just from me and my wallet. Which when I look at the stack is like kind of insane. I did get my book of the month box for July. I ended up getting Everything Was Beautiful and Nothing Hurt, which is a highly anticipated release for me. I am super excited to get to this, and it's way shorter than I thought. So I'm hoping it's going to tear me up. I do plan on doing a vlog soon where I'm going to read a book or books that will hopefully send me into a blubbery mess of tears. That's the goal. That's what I want. And this has potential to do that. So see that coming. And then I also got The Great Wherever, which is also another anticipated release for me. Book of the Month did great this month in terms of anticipated releases. This is a literary fiction novel that is actually set in Tennessee. And I just think that's so fun because I am set in Tennessee, and that is not like a normal place for books to be set. So I just thought it was cool. Aardvark. I got Every Version of You by Natalie Messier. This is something that is kind of surprising for me because I was actually anticipating this release, and it is a romance novel, and that's not something that I do. I don't anticipate romance, but this seems really cute to me. It's kind of like a second chance romance, and it's following two characters as she like goes back in time to go to college or something like that. I'm not sure. There's a cat. You know, what more could you ask for? I guess we're gonna find out, but I will read this probably soon because I've kind of been in a literary fiction, almost contemporary mood, which isn't really normal, but I've been like really leaning towards like fantasy and contemporary lately. I think it's because I've read so much horror this year. I just kind of like need a break. But also from Aardvark, I got Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep and What Hunger. This scares me because it's getting a lot of mixed reviews. Some people are not really liking the commentary style that Paul Tremblay has decided to tell this book, and I'm curious to see if I will enjoy it. And then What Hunger is honestly just a backlist that I added to the box because I keep telling myself I'm gonna read it, and it was there and it was staring me in the face, and I just couldn't say no. So now I have it. I actually started and didn't finish a grief horror novel. I'm not gonna like really go into it, but I started Monstrilio this month, and it's not that I wasn't liking it because I did thoroughly enjoy what I read. I just really wasn't in the mood for it, but I did want other grief horror novels, and I ended up asking Jordaline from Jordaline Reads like a really good like grief horror recommendation, and she immediately said Crossroads. She like immediately said Crossroads by Laura Hightower. So I then clicked on the internet and ordered this also immediately, and it showed up at my house, and I've yet to read it. But I did order it immediately, so there is that. But it is a grief horror, and it is really short. Another short one that really interests me is A Devil Comes to Town by Paolo Morensig. I don't know if you've realized this about me, but I am awful at pronunciation. All pronunciation. Names, different languages, English, doesn't matter. I can't say it, probably. But this is a literary fiction that really toys with the idea of literary fiction and the obsession that people can have with like the literacies of life. And you're following this town that is made up of nothing but authors, and there's like a play on like sell your soul to the devil, because the devil comes to town and the devil is a publisher. And they're like, one person can get their book published, and I think this just like whole town is just gonna like descend into madness and chaos, and it just sounds really interesting to me, so I just immediately had to pick it up. I got a backlist Simone St. James. Tell me I don't have a buying problem. I bought a backlist Simone St. James. What? Literally the last Simone St. James book that I read was Murder Road, and I didn't like it. And then I saw this on Barnes & Noble's website, and I was like, have to have it. What? Guys, I don't even know. It is historical in the 1920s, and it's set in England, and I just think that this could be fun. And I do like Simone St. James. Yeah, 2016 this book came out. I do like Simone St. James' writing, and she has really knocked it out in the park for me before, so we're gonna give her another shot with a backlist. That's just so random. That's just such like a random thing. Speaking of another random thing, I literally walked into Target empty-handed and walked out with the third book in the Bloodwing Academy. Ask me if I own the second. Ask me. I don't. I own the first one, and now I own the third one. I can't even tell you what I was thinking. Like that maybe I would just pick up the second one on Pango. Actually, that does make sense. Maybe I will do that, but I haven't even read the first one yet. I could hate this book, but it was 30% off, so there is that. And I do really like them. I do think they're really pretty. Like, look at that. Look at that poor baby dragon. And another new release that I got was Seek Immediate Shelter by Vincent Yu. This is a debut, and it seems really interesting to me because you are following a family that gets told to seek immediate shelter, that there is going to be a catastrophic, I think, bomb that's about to hit, and ballistic missile threat inbound, seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill, and you're following how these people are reacting to it and the different choices that they make. And I think it has just like a lot of commentary on like what you can and cannot do, and what you will and will not do, and what your choices really reflect when your life may or may not actually be in danger. And that just sounds like a really good theory to explore, you know? The good news is that we're almost done with the haul part. But any who's a whatsits, I did get 12 Nights at Rotterhouse. I tried to read this. I got 77 pages into it, tabbed it, put it down. I don't know what that means. I'm not ready to give up on it yet. I do think I'm going to revisit this book. I impulsively at the register at Barnes & Noble picked up Our Last Resort. This is following two sisters, and one is in a cult, and that's all I know. They escaped the cult, but they can't outrun their past. And the bookseller at Barnes & Noble said that it was very good and that she really enjoyed it. And based off the books that I was buying, she thought I would like it. So I said, just add it to the pile. And boy, did she, you know? On that same Barnes & Noble trip, I got Flashlight by Susan Choi. I've heard great things about Susan Choi. I've never read a Susan Choi, but this is also following a mother and daughter as they are experiencing and kind of coping with and going through the grief of losing her father and her husband. And that just is a very close to my soul kind of conversation to be had. And I just genuinely think I will enjoy this exploration of that grief and of that like almost trauma bond that can occur. And it was a Booker Prize shortlist novel, so I'm excited because I am trying to prioritize a little bit more of what do I want to call it, pretentious reading. Whatever your pretentious reading list is, I'm probably trying to read those books outside of classics. That's a different type of pretension that I do in fact have, but is not as strong in me. Two more. I did buy the sequel to Arcana Academy, which is Prince of Swords, and I am absolutely going to be getting to this year. It's going to happen. I finished Arcana Academy and literally that night pre-ordered this book. This book came out in July and got delivered to my house, and I'm surprised I haven't read it yet. And the last book that I hauled in the month of July is Mary by Nat Cassidy, and I know that you are probably so surprised because I read and loved When the Wolf Comes Home in June, and that was, I remember talking about that book in that vlog that I read it in, and I almost wish that I could say more. but it did make me pick up other Nat Cassidy's. That is one of the last books that I read in the month of June. In fact, I actually think, now that I'm thinking about it, did that vlog come out in July? Because I definitely read those books in June. But you didn't get a June wrap-up, so like how would you know that? Reading wrap-upception, I guess? But anyway, I did pick this book up and I can't wait to read more Nat Cassidy. So as you can tell by the counter, that did bring our total up by 24 books. That's crazy. That's crazy in 1 month. That's almost 1 book a month that I hauled. That's absolutely insane. But now we're gonna not end on a negative note, okay? But we are gonna rapid fire these unhauls because I'm basically just gonna give you a vibe check for why I'm unhauling them. But it is going to be rapid fire because I don't really have that much to say about them. I did take a look at my shelves and really do a soul search and say like, what genuinely am I not going to pick up either ever again or ever for the first time, because there are a lot of books here that are technically on my TBR that I just know I'm not going to read, and they're taking up space on my shelves. So we're gonna get rid of them. Okay. First one is actually a book that I did read, and we already talked about it, but I am going to go ahead and get rid of Summer Slasher. I just think that this book is being loved so much by so many other different people that it's wasted on my shelf. I think that I didn't enjoy it enough to keep it, and I think that other people would enjoy it more. Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. I remember reading this and thinking that it was just okay. Sci-fi horror. It was my introduction to sci-fi horror. So Haunted Spaceship. Very cool. Don't even remember what I gave it. Not memorable. Just looked at it on my shelves and said, you don't need to be here. Same thing can be said for the plot, which this one I actually remember really, really enjoying when I read it. But again, I think I need to be more brutal with the thrillers on my shelf and in terms of purchasing them rather than checking them out from the library or doing the audiobook, because I have so many thrillers on my shelves that I just know I'm never going to reread. I just know I'm never going to do that. So we're starting small. And we're going to start with the plot. Another one that we can do that's a thriller is actually Dark Corners by Megan Golden. I think this is even a sequel, and I don't even own the first one. But I remember thoroughly enjoying this, but I'm never going to reach for it again, and it just takes up precious space on my shelf for a book that I, could have just as easily checked out from the library, read it, and returned it, and had the same experience with the novel. I just really think I'm coming to terms with that whole thing about thrillers. Like, I love, 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 love thrillers, but like maybe I'm not a thriller owner other than Riley Sager and Ruth Ware. Alice Feeney. Absolutely Alice Feeney. So I have my staples, but do I really need to own like every other thriller that I want to read? No, I don't. Controversial one, possibly maybe, but I have Malibu Rising here. This is a book that I did not like. I remember I read it, didn't like it, but I kept it because I owned the other Taylor Jenkins reads. And that's just not good enough for me anymore. It's just not. So I'm getting rid of it. I will never reread it. I didn't even really enjoy it the first time. So we're going to let it go. We're just going to let it go to a home that will properly appreciate it for what it is. I just realized I was sitting so close to you. I'm so sorry. Another book that I thoroughly enjoyed, but have no reason to keep it on my shelf because I will never pick it up again, and that is Dead 11. Concept was really cool. Cover is incredible, but my horror thriller shelves just have way too much on them. Way too much for me to keep a book that I thought was just okay or was like just 3 stars. So again, we're gonna love it. We're gonna like it. And release it. I have a trilogy here. I have the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness, and I picked this up, the whole trilogy, in one go at a used bookstore when I had credit to spend and I was leaving the state forever. Like for good. I was moving out of the state and I had credit to spend, and I just remember buying books because I wasn't going to give up free books. So I saw the whole set here and I was like, you know what? It's used. They're here. Maybe I'll like them. Girl, what? I'm never going to read this. I'm sorry. I'm never going to read this. Maybe you could convince me to keep these. If you have read the series and actually think that it's worth me keeping and reading, let me know. because in my heart, I look at them and I'm just like, I'm literally never gonna pick that up. I've never even heard anybody talk about them. Like, what am I doing? Okay, so I loved Jurassic Park. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, ate it up. I'm never gonna read this. I'm never gonna read Dragon Teeth. Jurassic Park was a great one bite. I don't need the second course. I don't. And it doesn't even match the edition of Jurassic Park that I have. So like, I just feel like someone else would really, really like actually appreciate owning this book. And I don't think it's getting the love that it deserves from me. The next two are very interesting ones because one is We All Fell Down by Rose Zabo. This is an Illumicrate edition, and this is the lowest rated book on my physical TBR, and I know it's the lowest rated book on my physical TBR because this came up as a prompt for the monthly bite and for the month of June, and I never got around to it. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, if I didn't read it for a challenge, what makes you think I'm going to read it for fun, knowing that it's the lowest rated book on my TBR? And someone had commented on my TBR video and saying that I think that there was some sort of, for lack of a better word, scandal that happened with this, I think, and that's why it's so lowly rated. That's one comment that I read. I did not fact check, so keep that in mind. But it just made me realize I'm not interested in it. So we're gonna take this opportunity to make sure that it doesn't get randomly assigned to me again during a different monthly bite episode. This one I was actually so excited to pick up and read. I bought it and got super excited about it and did it and talked about it during a book haul. And one of my friends, Sam, had mentioned that the author or the art or something related to this was generated with AI, and it turned me off immediately, so obviously I'm gonna unhaul it. But it is Femme Feral by Sam Becksinger. I have a stammer. You can't have your last name be Becksinger and expect me to say it. Again, I did not do a whole lot of fact checking with this, but it did kind of just turn me off the idea. I trust Sam. I trust her sources. I'm extremely disappointed because I was excited to read this. The rest are books that I've never read, and I will never. And I just know that I will never. So we don't need to keep them. We don't need to harbor them when, again, there could be people out there that see this book in their library or in a little free library or on Pango, which is always linked down below, by the way. When they see that book and they see it like really reasonably priced on Pango and they go, oh my gosh, I have been dying to read that book. Let's order it from the Antisocials library on Pango. And I just feel like I have to give other people that opportunity rather than having it collect dust on my shelf. With the first one being Bone Chase. Don't know what it's about. Don't care to know. It's a mystery thriller. I don't even know anybody that blurbed it. Oh, that's not true. Josh Malaman blurbed it. But like, yeah, I don't know. I don't care. I think it's a murder mystery thriller, and I don't care about it. Another one being Horror Hotel. I remember I tried to read this a few years ago, and I got a couple pages in and was like, what am I doing? And I just put it down and never picked it up again. And I think for some reason I'm really like associating this with, what's that one movie where the guy kicks the other guy's like decapitated head down the stairs? Do you know what I'm talking about? Hostel. I think for some reason I was getting Hostel vibes from this. I mean, like Horror Hotel. I don't know how accurate that is, but I didn't remember loving my experience reading it, so we're just gonna let it go. This one kind of hurts a little bit. I got this one during the same time that I bought the Patrick Ness books. It was from that same used bookstore where I had the credit, and it's just beautiful. It's just gorgeous, but it still has the sticker. Okay, all right, I can't get the sticker off right now, but I will get it off properly before it is listed for sale. But it is Castle of the Cursed. It's a vampire book. It's a YA vampire book. I mean, it's absolutely stunning, gorgeous. Wish that I had any interest in this book at all, just based off of the vibes alone. I don't. And you know me and vampires. It should be calling out to me. It's a castle setting with vampires, forbidden romance, and I don't care. I don't care. 3 more. Miss Victoria Schwab. I'm sorry. I'm never gonna read this book. I've owned this book since like 2019, 2020, something like that. Something about music, magic, and something of that nature, and monsters. I think there's monsters involved. Goth, I picked this up at a used bookstore so long ago. And every single time that I'm looking at my horror shelves looking for a book to read, I see this book and I go, I should do that. And yet I literally never reach for it. And I don't even remember what it's about. I just have lost all interest in even figuring out what this book is about. All I have to do is read the back. I could read the back right now. I'm not gonna. It's gotta go. I've never read Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven, and I never will. I just won't. I did read and thoroughly enjoyed All the Bright Places by the same author, but in terms of picking up and reading this one, girly pop, it's just not gonna happen. It's just not. Like, you're not reaching for this. You're not going, oh, I wonder what Holding Up the Universe will do to me. So we're just gonna pass it along, and maybe someone will find it and read it at the right time. I would rather that be the possibility than it be sitting on my shelves for no reason. Okay, so the counter, where did we get to? My first installment of the shelf ledger is a success, and my literary debt is in fact going down. That's incredible. I'm very, very happy with that. And I know that has a lot to do with the fact that I purged a lot of my shelves, so I really need to focus on what I'm reading in order to maintain this momentum. But that is where we end with this shelf ledger, and we are really happy with it. I have 3 questions for you, and they're in each category of the video. 1, what did you read this month? Tell me what you read. Tell me what your favorite book of the month was, what your least favorite book was. You know, all of the stats, all of the things. Let's talk about the books that you read. And 2, did you get any books this month? And if you did, what is your most anticipated read that you got? Because I have realized that July just had like a lot of really good book releases. Like, not only did I get a lot of books that I'm excited about, but there were like new books that were coming out in July that were really interesting and that I'm really excited for. And then finally, and most importantly, some might say, did you see any books on this unhaul that you wouldn't unhaul? Let a girl know. Let me know. Let me know if I'm getting rid of a book unjustly. If you genuinely think like, no, Brandy, you need to read that book. Like, no, give it a shot. Read the book and then get rid of it. Because I might be open to that. I might be open to that, especially about the Patrick Ness series, because I really don't know anything about that series. I don't know anything about Chaos Walking, except for the fact that I recognized the name and they were all 3 available. And that is the reason that I bought them. And if you don't want to tell me any of those things or don't have anything else to say but want to let me know that you were here, that's totally fine. Go down below and leave like the little like balance emoji. Do you know what I'm talking about? This thing. Leave that down below, or anything that just kind of indicates maybe like the graph chart going down because my TBR went down. So go down below and leave one of those emojis, and while you're down there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and of course you can hit that little notification bell so you get notified the next time that I post. And just remember to read well and rest well, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.